This is April 15th. This is tax day, though I think things have been delayed. You can get it in on May 15th. Don't take that as gospel, but you want to check it out if you're struggling to get your taxes in. So a couple of things we do want you to know about, though. One is I just want to remind you of the workday that's coming up. It's next Saturday, the 24th. We'd love to have you come, sign up, let us know you're coming so we can prepare the work projects. But just to kind of spruce things up around Quest, so we'd really love to have you be a part of that. But another thing I want to relate to on the most part today has to do with us as a suburban church, kind of out on the edge of St. Louis, and how we relate back towards the city. When I first moved here, one of my guys that I worked with at the church I served then, who was a native of St. Louis, said, Kevin, I think you need to understand a few things about the culture of St. Louis. And what he talked about was what he said were the 3 cultural sins of St. Louis. And he meant that seriously. And talking about that every culture, and even in fact, even regions, probably have cultural sins, things that they've adopted, things that create the way they function, that in the long run really are not very healthy. And maybe really dishonor God in that. But there are regions like that. And you could talk about maybe Las Vegas, and the traditional thing to say about, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Is there a part of the culture there that is embraced somewhat of a sensuality or a brokenness in some way? Or maybe the Northeast that's pretty cold to the gospel. What about that? Or, just different parts of the country. Now, and he talked about the 3 sins of St. Louis. And this is how he said them. One is it's very parochial. That doesn't mean Catholic. What parochial means is that there's kind of these parish mentality. And that's really maybe where the question, where did you go to high school, comes from. Because it says a ton about a person. And St. Louis is a kind of place where a lot of people were born and raised. They stay here. And this parish mentality or this parochialism means you kind of have a circle of relationships. And you have a tendency to stay in those circles of relationships, even if you don't want to. You can't get out because it feels rude to get out of those circles, and so you kind of stick with it. The unfortunate other side of that is it's hard to get into those circles. And so for newcomers to the city, they feel like the people here are really, really friendly. But it's hard to break into a community and to be a part of one of those circles. Now, if you grow up here, that probably maybe feels offensive. And I totally understand that. But my experience is that there's some truth to that. And it's worth thinking about. So very parochial. Second sin of St. Louis would be that it's very provincial. That change is not one of the highest values. In fact, maybe it's one of the lowest values. They don't really love change. And so it's slow to change, or don't do it any different than we've always done it. The hard things for me are that where I grew up in Colorado and where I lived in California, change is one of the highest values. And in the inclusion of others is one of the highest values, because I lived in a place where a lot of people came and went. There's a lot of inclusion. There's a lot more multiness to the culture. And so change is really a high value. Here, it's not so much a value, and so change is hard. But the third sin of St. Louis is that of prejudice. That the issue between county and city, the issue between what traditionally felt like black and white, was deep, long, and ugly. And I would say that the history of St. Louis feels very different than where I grew up, clearly in Colorado Springs, Colorado, or even Southern California, where I live. The issues are a little different there. Not quite as long, not quite as deep, and it's hard to break out of those things. And so one of the questions that we're asking here in suburban St. Louis, which is changing, right? You can see the ethnicity of our community changing, which is great, but it is changing. But we're kind of out on the edge, and we've asked ourselves the question many times here at Quest, how do we be a part of a solution? How do we be a part of bridging from county to city? How do we bridge from white to black? Or now even multinational, multiracial, into the city where there's a lot more immigrants than ever before. We have more Bosnian immigrants in St. Louis than any city in the United States. There are a lot of other people coming from all over the world, and a lot of times they end up in South City as immigrants trying to figure out how to make a go of this in America. And so we're asking the question, how do we build a bridge from county to city and cross racial barriers? Okay? Now, we're interested in that. We want that. We're seeking the Lord on that and testing out a variety of situations and seeing if they fit for us and if they're successful for us. Now, one of those that we've been doing for a long time is New City Fellowship. It's a once a month work day where we go into the city to help cross racially, cross socioeconomic barriers. In a lot of ways we go. And I'd encourage you to really consider that. Mel Brown is our captain for that team, and I'd encourage you to work on that. And we have some other things that we're doing on all sorts of levels that we're testing out and wondering how would God help us be a blessing to a very broken culture. But what I want to introduce today is a donation program. And it's with a church that we've been with before. It's called The Well. It's a church reaching immigrants in South City. And we've helped them with their building, which they now have sold. But they also have some other things. Their cleaning crew cleans our building. They have a woodworking shop and business that they have going. Another thing they have going is a resale shop where they try to provide really nice quality used things at a very good price for people in the community who can afford very little. And so they have this. They also then supply some jobs for people in this resale shop and trying to be a blessing to their community. And one of the things that they could use help with are donations. And what that means is for us to be able to donate lightly used clothing, household items, furniture, anything that you don't use anymore. Now, I don't mean anything. There's a lot of things that we don't use anymore that are in our homes that are not really very nice stuff. They're either throwaway things or they're kind of broken or just not very nice. And those kinds of things maybe need to go ahead and be thrown away. But if you have lightly used clothing, they need especially men's clothing right now. And I know my closet has a lot of stuff in it that I actually haven't worn in a long time. And so I'm going to go through there and pull out all sorts of stuff. But they need women's clothing, kids' clothing, household items, and even furniture so that you could donate that in a way and so that they could have it, resell it, bless their community, and finance some of the ministry. So here's the deal. We're going to partner with them a couple of times a year to do this. And the first season is this next month. It'll be between now and the 16th of May, which is a Sunday. And here's what we'd encourage you to do. We'd encourage you to bring to Quest household items, clothing, anything that could be transported in a van or in a car, and they will come and take it from Quest. But you can bring it. So we'll have a place in the lobby. Then if there's too much stuff, we'll find another place to put it all. But we're gonna you can bring it here to Quest. And if it's larger items, furniture and stuff like that, you're going to be able to call the ministry. In fact, you'll call Carl Riebling, who is in our church and is going to captain this effort. And you can call him and they'll arrange for a van or a truck to come out and get those larger items. Now remember, it's not large items that are throwaway things. These are larger items that are keepers, but it's just not a keeper for you, right? Because our closets are full. They're kind of bulging, if you will. Our garages have turned into storage units. And then when those are full, we have all over the place here in West County more and more storage units because we can't keep all the stuff we have in our own homes. So we have to get a storage unit. And so maybe we have an abundance that we could share, donate to bless a community that has a more difficult time with that. And especially the immigrant and those who are caught in poverty. That we could bless them with what we have, with what God has blessed us with. So I want to encourage you to dig in, see what you might be able to have, what you have that you could give, and begin to bring it on Sunday or during the week would be fine too. But if they're large items, make sure you call. There's a number, I think, here on the screen or in the blog below so that you can engage with this, so that we can begin to build a bridge from county to city, from across racial and ethnic and national boundaries, okay? Because we want to be engaged. It'd be easy to try to push the city away, ignore it, because there are lots of issues, but we want to be engaged. So invite you to be a part of the donation program with the Well Church and with a ministry called Rise Together, which is part of what they're doing in this resale shop, okay? All right, you guys, let's be a part of the solution. Let's look forward. Let's be positive. Let's engage. Let's let God bless others because he has blessed us so much. All right? All right, we'll see you next week. But between now and then, take care. We love you guys.